Okay, why, dude? Like, this thing is obviously, 3-4 times heavier, taller, more muscular, and you still want to throw hands? Well, yeah. See there? Why? No, don't. How are you gonna disrespect? Oh. So, taking a step back from this impressive battle, by the way, there may be a few reasons why this dragon had the balls to come up swinging to Godzilla. This episode will discuss the new Titan who was the new addition to the MonsterVerse's roster of Titans. What made it fall into the category of Titan, and its physical and mental attributes that were the chief reasons why it got murked by Godzilla. Subscribe, like, or Godzilla will stomp on your car. Okay, but first, a bit of MonsterVerse lore for you. One of the key events that sparked the beginning of the modern-day MonsterVerse timeline was the attack on the USS Lawton back in 1943, 200 miles west of Pearl Harbor. This was a Fletcher-class destroyer that was put out of commission in less than 3 minutes by this thing, the Ion Dragon, a kaiju that was actually referred to, not by name, by William Randa 30 years later during the events of Kong Skull Island. He described it as a brutal animal who had no conscience, suggesting that this creature violently attacked both ship and crew, killing hundreds of sailors. Only Randa remained alive. This fella in Monarch Legacy of Monsters was still hung up on this event. We don't blame him, and did not stop until he found the location of where the USS Lawton was hauled inland in the Philippines. The rare attack on this ship was basically covered up, and the US government claimed it was sunk in battle. Reality was that they were actually hiding this from the public so as not to spread any more panic during this already tense time period the world was going through. Last thing they needed was radioactive monsters lurking about and scaring people to death. Here is where we meet the Ion Dragon. But first, William Randa and his new acquaintance Keiko, in search of answers, ran into a grim sight. While walking inside the shipwreck, they ran into more or less well-preserved corpses covered by this, questionable-looking substance. Okay, this stuff is basically a viscous nacre that the Ion Dragon can spew out and used for preserving prey, as seen here. This stuff is the same substance that lines the insides of shells and the outer coating of pearls. This same material covers the dragon's victims, asphyxiating them and also preserving them for a very long time if the dragon wants to feed later. Now, very soon after we see exactly how the Ion Dragon laid waste to the USS Lawton again. With its really sharp claws and exceptionally strong limbs, this dragon was able to effortlessly dig into the hull of the ship and, once flipping it over, using its entire frontal body to fold metal like it was made of paper, showcasing high levels of strength for its size. But perhaps the most noteworthy feat of this Ion Dragon was not that he shredded the ship, but rather carried it 5,000 miles to this location. That's right, the Ion Dragon would have had to drag this ship for a very long distance and even hauling it through the dense jungles to this location, suggesting that the Ion Dragon had superb stamina, since taking breaks in the ocean hauling a sunken ship would only mean that it would have to repeatedly retrieve the boat from under the water for 5,000 miles. Instead, the Ion Dragon could have skimmed it over the water, an extremely noteworthy feat nonetheless. The Ion Dragon at this point was a juvenile, a young titan who was far from reaching adult proportions. We don't have an exact size yet, but we'll do our best to showcase it at an approximate size comparison to a human in our analysis platform. Once the official size is revealed, we'll be sure to take it into account. The Ion Dragon's most notable attributes are these two large horns on top of its head. These would have been for many uses: an intimidation display, show of prowess and dominance for mates, similar to a bovine's horns. This animal has a set of mandibles that resemble those of an anglerfish. Sharp teeth line these jaws, providing gripping strength with each bite. Overall design of this animal resembles a wyvern with fish-like features. Its lean build would mean that it's not that heavy compared to similarly sized megafauna, but it means that it's more agile. The spiked tail ends with a 4-pronged claw that could have been used in combat. But why does this animal belong to the Titan class? To be considered a Titan, the animal in question must have some sort of special ability, such as a form of weaponry or effect on the environment. Godzilla, for instance, has atomic breath. Rodan's biology is biovolcanic, and Scylla can freeze surrounding water using a special gas. The Ion Dragon, although small, has the ability to leave behind a glowing trail of ionized radiation in its flight trajectory. This radioactive ability and its potential size once an adult categorizes it in the same rank as a Titan. But another indicator is a Titan's effects on Hollow Earth portals. This Ion Dragon in particular was known for dwelling in an area deep inside the Earth known as Axis Mundi. Not necessarily as deep as the Hollow Earth, but an area more or less in between. Portals here become more or less activated by the radioactive presence of a Titan. Back in 1962 in Kansas, Monarch conducted Operation Hourglass in an attempt to explore Axis Mundi. To trigger the portal, they attempted to lure a Titan, which so happened to be the Ion Dragon, causing the capsule to violently land in this realm. Unfortunately for the crew, they were once again attacked by this kaiju, who was now a lot larger than when Shaw last encountered it in 1952. Only Shaw escaped after being siphoned back to the surface after the Ion Dragon activated the portal after flying through it. But we haven't seen the last of this Ion Dragon yet. Fast forward to 2015, and the Ion Dragon would have reached much larger proportions, with the head of this creature being slightly larger than that of Godzilla himself. This animal would now rival the size of some of the pre-existing kaijus in the monsterverse, such as the male Muto from 2014, and surpass Mothra in overall mass. It is in this scene in the finale of Monarch Legacy of Monsters where we would see the Ion Dragon take on Godzilla. Enjoying this episode? Please take 2 seconds to support the channel and click the link below to check out our GXK-inspired merch. Or you can subscribe. That's right, it is free. By a certain chain of events, the main characters of this show, Shaw and these two, were reunited with a presumably dead Keiko. In an attempt to go back to the surface, they had to activate a gamma ray simulator to attract a kaiju and open up a portal back to the surface. But unfortunately for them, Ion Dragon pulled up again and was about to ruin their plans. That is, until Godzilla also pulled up, setting the stage for a confrontation between the two titans. But who would have thought that this fella would have the balls to face a kaiju many times heavier than itself? There could be many reasons for this. One, Ion Dragon throughout its appearances has been shown to be extremely territorial, showing zero tolerance to any organism no matter how big or how small. Two, this Ion Dragon would have probably faced Godzilla for the first time here. Keep in mind that this animal would have only racked many victories throughout its lifetime, potentially fighting and winning against other kaiju, explaining the mild battle damage we see on one of its horns. Perhaps this kaiju also thought that Godzilla was just another chunky, slow lizard needing to be taught a lesson. But he couldn't be more wrong. Upon first encountering Godzilla, the Ion Dragon plays dirty and attacks the G-Man from behind. Unaware of its superior melee abilities, the Ion Dragon foolishly puts its own body, or tail, in harm's way, and Godzilla makes him pay. The Ion Dragon will not be able to fully rely on this weapon anymore and gets chunked thousands of feet away. But the Ion Dragon still thinks he can win. This fella must have thought that this slime could actually be effective here, and for some time it was. But this only instigated an even more powerful attack from the G-Man. Godzilla gets a hold of the dragon and shows him a real weapon. From here on, we're just witnessing the Ion Dragon regret this fatal mistake. Godzilla rips the Ion Dragon's wing right out of the socket and hurls him back to the portal. But is the Ion Dragon dead? The Ion Dragon probably didn't die immediately here. Remember, some kaiju do have regenerative abilities that will allow them to regrow some parts of their body. Because of this, we cannot say that this dragon is dead yet, unless confirmed. But let's say that this Titan did not have regenerative abilities to this extent, and we are looking at a serious problem for this animal. Creatures such as this, who heavily rely on flight as their main form of locomotion, will now be extremely vulnerable to attack against another kaiju, especially one that can throw hands on the ground.